Drizzts Do'urden's freaking rad, but you know what else is pretty rad? Getting your D&D characters illustrated by a crazy talented artist. Bubble Laser is a freelance artist on Fiverr.com who has been illustrating D&D characters professionally for 2 years, and she wants to draw your characters. Bubble Laser has illustrated official logos, podcast art, and board game art, but her passion lies in bringing nerdy people's D&D parties, NPCs, and player characters to life. With hundreds of characters drawn and a 5-star rating on Fiverr, you can know your commissioned character will be well taken care of. So click the link in the description, look her up on Fiverr, or find her art page on Facebook or Instagram at Bubble Laser Art and get your characters illustrated today. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Will.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons, from dirty demons to disturbing dolls. And today we're joined by Ben from Faerun History. What are we talking about today, Ben?
Today we're going to talk about Drizzts Do'urden, the famous dark elf written by R.A. Salvatore.
Awesome! It's finally the Drizzts Do'urden episode. I've been waiting so long to hear about this fool. He comes up all the time.
He does. He does. He's
so let's kick it off,
popular.
yeah?
Let's do it. All right, well, before we get started, Ben, real quick, why don't you tell our audience where your expertise comes from when it comes to Faerun and Drizzts Do'urden in general?
All right, I am a scriptwriter and voice talent for Faerun History, and I have been reading the Drizzts novels since 2003 when I was 12 years old, and I've probably read about all the books 3 times over throughout my life.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So,
okay. I know that feel when it comes to the certain series like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and whatnot.
You got that love.
You got that love for Drizzts Do'urden.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So
Forgotten Realms for me is Dragonlance for you, probably.
Yeah, probably. That's definitely the sense I'm getting.
That's a good touchstone for
me. You
me.
guys do really good work, really thorough work, and really approachable work at Faerun History. So thanks for coming on the show. And yeah, let's talk about Drizzts. So can you give us a brief description, a quick summary? Who is Drizzts Do'urden?
Well, Drizzts is a famous ranger, and he's, let's see. He's a drow ranger, obviously. Everyone knows him. People have been making copies of Drizzts since his creation. But Drizzts is essentially pretty much a pretty boy dark elf that is very philosophical. Really, probably one of the top 10 best swordsmen in all of Faerun. Yeah. He's obviously much different from the other dark elves. Let's see.
It's like that. It's like that. Not like other girls meme.
I'm not like other drow.
It was actually like, the other drow are actually jealous of Drizzts sometimes because he still has passion, despite the fact that like drows learn to become emotionless killers. And
he's a free man essentially, and they're not free. They're not a free people.
Yeah, he escaped that like tyrannical totalitarian state. And he's now free roaming above, and he's become obviously famous throughout the realms. I'm sorry, let me see.
One of my impressions of Drizzts. Now, I've never read a Drizzts Do'urden book. That's one of the main reasons we decided to bring in an expert, is because I was an expert, and it's such a vast amount of story and knowledge to just cram. I wasn't able to really just I attach myself to that much. But my understanding of Drizzts is he's kind of like this brooding hero who like always sacrifices like his own needs for others. Is this a true thing when it comes to Drizzts?
Yes. He and his companions do that quite a bit. It's kind of like after a few books, you're just like, okay, you're going to sacrifice yourself for each other. But
oh wow,
yeah.
So this guy makes his way.
He's very selfless. He has to deal a lot with how people perceive him. He has to deal with his own self-worth because obviously he's a drow above ground.
Right. So he deals with a lot of racism, a lot of guff from all the people he meets on the surface.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much taboo. If you're from the Underdark or associated in any way, mortal, like material plane top dwellers, don't they like throw the cross up at you and stuff?
Right.
Yeah,
they get their holy water out.
Almost immediately, people start attacking him, and people keep thinking he's a monster, at least at the beginning. And then even after he's famous, there are some people that are pretty racist towards him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So before we get into like the story of how Drizzts came from the Underdark to the surface and then became a legend, let's talk a little bit about Drizzts' creator. So my understanding is Drizzts Do'urden was created by R.A. Salvatore, probably one of the most prominent writers for Forgotten Realms, obviously most famous for his creation of Drizzts Do'urden. But my understanding is he created Drizzts as kind of like an offhand spur of the moment side character in the Icewind Dale trilogy. Is that true?
Yes. Essentially, the Drizzts books have been going back since 2E. So I think,
Oh wow,
yeah, in the 19,
that's back in the day.
Yeah, late 80s, I think, and
Yeah,
he was commissioned to write for the Forgotten Realms and to make just a trilogy. They didn't really specify what, and they gave him this small patch of land, Icewind Dale. It wasn't even like built out yet. He had to build it out. And
right.
Initially, he was going to make the books about Wulfgar, which is one of Drizzt's companions. He's a young barbarian that
yes, I know Wulfgar.
He's strong as fuck. But
he's so goddamn strong.
Yeah, like he punches giants in the face. He's that strong. But
oh hell yeah, that's my dude.
Yeah, I'll talk more about him later. But like, he was the initial character to be the hero, and he needed a sidekick or a companion. And in the book, Drizzt is the one that trains him, but or at least in the first book. But he needed a sidekick companion, and I think his publisher or editor, I forgot who, asked him something like, or said like, you know what, he needs someone to help him with, being the hero. What are we gonna do? And R.A. Salvatore was just like, well, I need some time to figure that out. And they were just like, no, we need it now because we're about to we're about to do this meeting, and I need to go to lunch after that, so we got to like do this fucking now.
Yeah, we need to do this now.
Yeah, and he was like,
rule, man.
And like, I don't know if you'll believe this. I have a hard time believing it, but he did say like, I'm gonna make a dark elf ranger, and they were like that sounds stupid. What are you talking about with that? And he was just like, well, okay, I need his name. Well, I need to figure that out. Well, no, I need this now. And he was just like, Drizzt Do'urden of the Ninth Althamensa Berenzin, or something like that. It was something like really out of the blue.
Yeah, he's probably just whatever first came to his head.
Yeah, it was literally like I'm gonna make the dumbest fantasy name, and just without any kind of history or cultural influence. And they were just like, "Are you kidding?" And he was like, "No." And then they used it. They put it there, and then. But then he didn't really know that Drizzt would be great. And then I think, like he said, like the first time he wrote about him during the novel Crystal Shard, he was like, "This is gonna be my character now. This guy's
right."
Nice.
There we go.
You get this blank slate and you fall in love. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I think what happens here is like from our perspective, Drizzt almost seems like a tired cliche. But I think at the time, especially if you look at like the way Dark Elves were treated. He really is. He was like this new compelling idea that D&D hadn't really had before.
Yeah, they were just monsters.
Yeah, they were just monsters. They were like goblins and orcs who, like, we talk about this on the show all the time. They're people too, but
yeah,
like historically in D&D, yeah, they're monsters, and that's very much how the Drow were pictured.
So he's very philosophical. I heard you guys say, is that something he uses to like help free himself from his like subjugation in the Underdark as like Drow?
Yeah, that's one. Like he has a journal, and between every chapter, at least chapters that are Drizzt centric, it might actually be in the books where it's just his companions too. But he writes down like little diary snippets that R.A. Salvatore says that he uses just for like he used it to think himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you're bouncing ideas off of like your own character's like inner thoughts.
Right. That's really cool, actually. That's really cool to give some insight into like the inner thoughts of the character.
Yeah, it really is. And like the first time I read all the books, I kind of skipped them because I was just wanting to get to the action. But then when I reread them, I was like, these are really compelling. And
right.
Yeah, and he is a very philosophical character in the fact that like he tries to find his way in the world. He really doesn't know where he belongs, and when he does, will it last? And he's also an elf, so a lot of his friends are humans. He's going to outlive them. There's just a bunch of stuff like that. And so he constantly like tries to, if he's not like, I mean, I'm not saying like he's endlessly philosophical when it's like his actual dialogue. He's not, but like he obviously is a deep thinker. And then when he writes his diary,
yeah, he's a thoughtful person, and he thinks about like the reality of his situation and what that means. That is philosophical.
That's pretty cool. The biggest like hill to climb for me as a player in this game is relating to the long age of an elf.
Right.
How do I roleplay that? So this book can kind of give you some insight into like the inner thoughts of roleplay of what like a character could think about those situations that could probably be very tender for them.
Yeah, there was there was an elf that meets Drizzt Do'urden in one of the books and actually tries to teach him what it is to be an elf because his friends hadn't been
cool.
outlived yet. And they were like, you're really going to get hurt by this. You shouldn't be doing that. But he was just, he's just stubborn that way.
Yeah, and I think, isn't Drizzt relatively young for an elf?
He is. It actually, his age got retconned. In Crystal Shard, when he was the trainer of Wulfgar at Brunor's behest, and Brunor's the dwarf king that's also his companion. When he was the trainer of Wulfgar, he was supposed to be 200 years old. But when he reached the surface, they retconned it from the Homeland series to where he's now 60. So,
that's so young. Oh man.
Yeah. And like, he's still, I think like he's obviously physically matured as an elf.
Yeah.
And I believe back then that was mature for an elf in the edition. I think it like they added age since then. I think it was like 50 when they became adults. I think in like 3E. I think that was when it changed. But like, yeah, now it's
okay.
But then when it started,
I think in 5E, I think they switched it back because I'm pretty sure I read that they still reach maturity physically by like age 20 or whatever, but they're still considered children until they're like getting to the end of their first century.
Yeah, exactly. He had to go through all of the drow schooling, which I could talk about later. But which would take a few decades because obviously drow live a long time. But
right.
But then after that, he escaped. And once he reached the surface, he was around 60. I don't know the exact age, but it was 60s.
Okay. Well, since we're talking about him escaping, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Drizzt's story. Like, who did Drizzt start as? How did he get to where we as readers know him today? Like, what's his general storyline?
Yeah, did he nat 20 a stealth roll? Did he charm person somebody? Like, what's up?
Let's see. He was born in the, I believe, 10th house in Menzoberranzan, and the first 10 houses, or actually no, it was further back, I believe. But like, I'll get to that. The first 10 houses of Menzoberranzan are the top 10 noble houses, and so they're the big deal. And on the night of his birth, his house killed, I believe, the 4th house, and they became the 9th house of Menzoberranzan.
Hot damn.
Yeah. So, and in Drow society, the way this is like, it's so hypocritical. You could destroy another house and like go down the ladder and, make yourself better. But like, if you leave any survivors that can accuse you, you are dead. The entire city will go against you. Yeah. And Drizzt was going to be sacrificed to Lolth because he was the third son of his mother, Matron Malice. But on the night of the battle, his older brother killed the oldest brother, so he could be the oldest brother. And so, so when that happened, Drizzt was allowed to live.
Because now he's the second son.
Yeah, now he's the second boy of House Do'urden. And,
gotcha. So is that a common thing across Drow? Do they normally kill their third sons?
I believe that is the case. Usually, they can keep some alive, but like that's a rarity. And I believe Lolth was also kind of demanding it as well after like Matron Malice kind of like had a psychic link with Lolth, like a lot of Drow priestesses do.
That's right. Lolth is super active in her like people's community.
Yes, very. And there's one of the books where she actually walks straight into Menzoberranzan and just like, listen to me, bitch. Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah. That was during the time of Troubles. Like these books go through a long time and forgot.
Oh yeah, if I remember correctly, the time of Troubles were when the gods were forced to walk the earth.
Yes, and when magic was kind of messing up and stuff.
We'll talk about it one day on the show. Okay, so Drizzt is born and he's lucky. He doesn't get sacrificed. What happens next?
After that, he gets tutored by his sister Virna, who is she's not a good person at all, but at the same time she's probably the nicest of the Drow sisters that he has, which is still not saying much. She's still kind of if he messed up, she beat him and stuff like that because like that's just how Drow are. And once he left her tutelage at like the age of 16. No, he left her at age 12, and then for 6 years he was just a servant because like that's just what he has to do. But then he was trained by his father, and he wasn't supposed to know that he was his father. And his father is Zaknafein. And Zaknafein is probably at the time the best weapons master in Menzoberranzan. He's really powerful, and he hates other dark elves because of how hypocritical the society is.
Right. He's woke to their hypocrism, to their evil, and he's actually like
So he's spitting this philosophy at his
exactly.
son,
Yeah,
quote,
he's
unquote.
actually thinking about, wait a minute, we're evil. We're the bad guys.
and he's not like a great guy, but he does hate his kind. And
that's interesting.
And
so is he more morally gray then?
Yeah, he's probably neutral.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, and
because it wouldn't make sense for like him to be truly good when he's surrounded from birth by so much evil. Instead, he was like more neutral. I like that. That's
he
cool.
had to learn good.
And he's also a
from,
friend
like,
of Jarlaxle, who we'll talk about. But Jarlaxle is in the new Dragon Heist.
Right.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I know he's a prominent character. I know he's a fan favorite because fans were clamoring when he was mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. But they were friends. But Zaknafein taught Drizzts how to fight, and he also kind of taught Drizzts behind closed doors so he could make sure Drizzts his innocence wasn't destroyed.
That's cool.
Because like pretty much weapon masters in Menzoberranzan, their top two jobs, like their only jobs are like, we're gonna kill for the house and we're gonna train its soldiers. And
right.
Yeah, so he trained Drizzts, and Drizzt didn't know at the time, but he is his father. Because all I said was, this is Zaknafein, the weapons master, here, get trained by him. And so Drizzts kind of learned to be, I guess, he didn't become evil because, one, he had a lot of passion, and two, Zaknafein and Virna kind of didn't beat it out of him. And then he rose to the ranks in the academy of I think it's, Mealy Magthere or Mealy Magathere, I forgot what it's called. But that was the fighter academy. He rose to the ranks in that, and I won't spoil, obviously, the beginning trilogy, but he left the Underdark. He had to survive in the Underdark for 10 years, by the way, alone, which is something.
Oh, wow.
Like just trying to get out?
Yeah. I think he was
seriously.
like 40 or 50 when he did that. And
oh, man.
Yeah, that's hardcore because.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's some dank stuff down there.
That's pretty crazy. Do the books really detail? Do they detail that 10-year survival?
Yes,
story?
that is actually the second book in the trilogy.
Oh, wow. It's a whole book.
That does sound that sounds like a really cool read.
Yeah, in the prequel trilogy, he made friends with a deep gnome and a hook horror.
He made friends with a hook horror?
Yeah, him and the deep gnome became buds, and then they found a hook
That's
horror.
amazing.
And I think, I forgot the hook horror's name. Damn, like I'm still not.
God, it had a name.
Yeah, it did.
That's amazing. Now I need to read this book. I don't know much about hook horrors. I just know they're freaking monsters and they're horrendous looking.
I think actually the hook horror was either blessed by a wizard to be able to talk, or he was a human transformed by a wizard into a hook horror. I forgot which.
Both are cool.
Both are cool. Both are cool ideas. Okay, so he survives, and then what happens? Obviously, I guess now we're getting to the point of like, how much do we talk about? Because we don't want to talk about spoilers, right?
Right, exactly. First, I'm going to just say how he survives, and then after that, I'm going to go straight to the surface.
Okay,
first
sounds
off,
good.
Yeah, he has this little thing called the Hunter, and that is pretty much when he loses all sense of himself, and it's kind of like not a Wolverine rage, but it's kind of like he is so like he's just honed for survival, and that's it. And that's what he had to do to survive the Underdark for 10 years, because he couldn't really think like a person, or else he wouldn't have been able to live. So he only does that a few times in the series, and that's if something terrible happens. But that was the first time that ever happened. That was just pure survival. But then he goes to the surface.
That's like a state of mind he puts himself in?
Yeah. Some fighters do that. I think that's some prestige class edition or something like that in like 3E or something, that fighters can go into like almost like a monk-like trance.
Oh, cool.
That is really cool. Okay, so he's got this mode where he can bring you to the next level.
Yeah, but that's only if like it's something like shit goes down.
Right.
But he went to the surface, and he wasn't obviously welcome anywhere. I'm not going to spoil the third book, because the third book is just him going to the surface. But he wasn't really welcome anywhere, so he went to the most inhospitable place imaginable, which is Icewind Dale, at the ass end of the world.
Cool.
I take it it's cold there.
Oh,
better
very
than the
cold.
Underdark.
In fact, like the regular monster is the Yeti and ice worms, and like
Nice.
even in the summer,
Fun.
there's no farming. Like there's this place called Ten Towns, which is like the only hospitable place that's not like where the dwarves live, and the only thing they have there is like textiles and fish, because it's right by these 3 giant lakes. Like all they can do is just wait for summer so they can start fishing.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So it's right by the sea of frozen ice, so that ought to tell you something.
So he moved to Alaska.
Pretty much, yeah. He pretty much moved to like Iceland or Greenland.
Greenland. Yeah, he moved to Greenland. Then what happened?
And he became friends with Brunor Battlehammer, who is the clan leader of Clan Battlehammer of the dwarves. He became friends with them, oddly enough, because obviously dwarves hate drow too.
Yeah, they have serious beef with drow.
Yeah, they really do, because they fuck them up. They delve too greedily or too deep. So
exactly.
So I'm not going to explain how that happened, but they became friends. Bruenor has an adopted daughter who's a human named Catti-Bree, and she became friends with Drizzts, and then Battle of 10 Towns happens, and when barbarians attacked, the Tundra barbarians, and that live even further north, and all they survive on is like elk and stuff like that. And Wulfgar, who was a really young character at the time, got his ass kicked by Bruenor because he was just like a really young guy. Brunor's like, you know what? I'm going to make you my indentured servant. You're going to serve me for 5 years in the forges.
Oh, no.
You belong to me now.
Pretty much. And then he got beefy by knocking hammers together for about 5 years, grew up. And then Bruenor was like, okay, I'm going to let you go back now. But before that, you got to learn to take care of yourself. So here's this dark elf that I never told you about. It's Drizzts. And like as soon as Wulfgar saw him, Wulfgar's like fucking sorceress dog and just starts attacking him, and Drizzt just beats him easy. He's like, come on, dude. Yeah, and then,
we just met.
Yeah, and then that's when they start, and that's pretty much Drizzt was just like a ranger in the north, running around, serving Bruenor, helping people out who aren't too racist to him, living off the land. And when Bruenor's like, I need you to train this young pup, Drizzt is like, okay, I guess I can do that for an old friend. And
cool.
And obviously he goes across Faerun, has to deal with a whole bunch of stuff. One of his main rivals is a Baelor demon.
Really? Whoa. Man, he's got beef with the Baelor. That's impressive.
Heir 2 is the Baelor, and Heir 2 is actually so cool that he is rivals with the Baelor, whose name is Baelor because he is the starter. He's like the main one of the race.
I am Baelor. I'm the epitome of this.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love that.
I don't want to keep explaining unless y'all want me to keep going, but like,
I think that's a good overview of his story because obviously there's a lot of books to read and people want to read these books and we don't want to do spoilers.
Yeah, there's a lot of given information. Like that Drizzts is a surface walker,
right?
Like,
yeah.
So what do you think makes Drizzts such a compelling character? Because obviously he is compelling. He's extraordinarily popular. I would say easily the most popular, not just Forgotten Realms character, but the most popular character to ever come out of any D&D setting. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because probably one, the way he's written. R.A. Salvatore is a great writer. He's one reason why I became a writer and why I'm going to try to be an independent author in a moment. But like, he inspired me for that. Also, Drizzts is really just compelling to read about. He has a lot of deep thoughts. He's also he loves fighting. He loves it. He's kind of like too cool for school, and not in the way that he wants to be. It's just kind of like, he's a cloaked ranger with a giant cat for a companion that, can go behind enemy lines and just slay people left and right, and orcs just like heads strewn. They're like, what happened here? Just like, oh, Drizzts came through. And
Drizzts came through.
I'm too cool for school, and it's not because I want to be. It's just because I am.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's amazing.
And obviously that he's also like in universe. He's a big deal, and and he also has a bunch of cool companions too. That like, he's friends with a dwarf king and a barbarian that could like arm wrestle an ogre, and just stuff like that.
So he's strong. He's unique, skilled.
Yeah.
He's well connected.
He's also got the innate drow powers, which, like Fairy Fire, Globes of Darkness, stuff like that.
Yeah, he can cast like certain spells. Can he cast the darkness spell? Is that a thing he can do?
Yes, he can. He used to be able to levitate, but he can't anymore because you can only do that underground.
Oh wow, okay. All right, interesting.
Yeah,
so that's a Chris
Angel.
Also,
and I know we're gonna talk about companions later, but they also have a companion that's a fat halfling that is a thief that just loves laying around, but he's actually a really good thief, and he kind of, by his ineptitude, he kind of makes the first trilogy, to be honest, because people are after him.
Oh, wow.
And they have to travel around. It's stuff like that. But like, Drizzts is just so iconic in so many ways. He's just really introspective, and he makes all these enemies and tricks them too. He tricks enemies because like, oh, I'm a drow if I'm evil, like, believe me.
Easy to do. Play on their
preconceptions,
yeah.
pretty much. But
Okay, well, I want to talk more about his cast of friends, and I want to talk more about his enemies. Before we do that, let's take a short rest.
Hey everybody, welcome to the part of the episode. We're not talking about that last thing, even though it was super awesome. We have a super educated, cool guest on the show. We're going to talk about how much we love you guys. We really appreciate you guys listening to the show. This has been our most requested topic, and we're hoping that you're enjoying it. We have a contest coming up. Would you like to talk about that, Will?
Sure, I'll talk about the contest. So we are running a contest from July 1st to August 31st. Does August have a 31st?
You said September 1st last episode.
September 1st it is, from July 1st to September 1st. And we're giving away a copy of the book Descent into Avernus, which is a new adventure module coming out for D&D, where apparently in Forgotten Realms they're delving into the Nine Hells.
You know how much we love Nine Hells on this show. Our first 100 episodes is pretty much the trek of the Blood War.
Indeed, it's very true. And in order to enter the contest and win that prize, all you have to do is share the show Super Quest Saga with a friend on social media and let us know about it. Now, this can be sharing it on Twitter with the hashtag SuperQuest, sharing it on Facebook and sending us a snapshot of that to our email or to our Twitter. You can send it there too. Or sharing it on Instagram, however you do that, because I don't know Instagram. Go ahead, Brian, tell them about that.
First, I want to talk about Super Quest Saga. It is a 5th edition, like our actual live play game that Will DMs. I play in with two of our buddies, Jake and Josh, and it's a sci-fi adventure. Mm-hmm. It's really, really awesome. Definitely check it out. Go to our Instagram, the Dungeoncast on Instagram. There will be a post there on July 1st that details the descriptions of what you need to do. It's basically going to be tag 2 people in this post, tell them to watch Super Quest Saga. There will be a link in the bio, and you guys can go hopefully check it out. It's really, really awesome. We're having a great time playing it, but enough about that. Let's talk about our guest, Ben. Ben, do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the projects or something upcoming you're working on?
Yeah, I got a website that is just pretty much a business website of mine, but I myself am a writer, script writer, and a voice talent, and I'm a part of the group Faerun History, and I got to be honest, they are so gracious to actually have me, because I'm not worthy of that, because they are so good at what they do. A lot of the Forgotten Realms authors listen to their YouTube that I found out.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you guys make solid stuff there for sure.
Thank you. And but I'm not very well known. They are, but I do have a website that shows all my talents. I am a writer first and foremost. I've written a short story for a new campaign setting called Sunturin, and I'm going to come out soon with an independent work that's a novella called Blackwood Baronies. But at the moment, I just have a YouTube channel where I talk about fantasy lore, Warhammer, D&D, Lord of the Rings, sci-fi videos, and I'm a history major, so I talk about history as well. And also, last but not least, I am an illustrator for a very long time. So,
oh wow,
yeah,
you're a man of many talents.
You're Barding over there.
I'm
seriously.
I'm just a huge loser with a lot of free time.
Hey, free time is like a very valuable asset.
Well,
so glad you're making good use of it.
Well, if you guys want to check out any Ben's work, his website, his novels, his
YouTube channel,
or his illustrations, we're going to leave all the links in the description.
Yeah, go check it out. Go click that little box down there. Read it sometimes. Some work goes into it, but there's mostly links down there.
Yeah, there's a lot of links down there.
But that being said,
let's get back to the show.
We've returned.
Indeed we have.
Welcome back, everyone. Ben, welcome back.
Hello.
All right. Can you hear us, Ben?
Can you hear us, Ben?
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Okay, all right.
Let's continue onward with the episode.
So we've talked a lot about Drizzts and his story, and we touched on the fact that one of the things that makes him so compelling is his flavorful cast of friends. So let's talk about this cast of friends. Who are Drizzt's companions?
Well, first I'm going to have to talk about Gwenhwyvar, which is his magical Black Panther.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
It's
good place to start.
Yes.
So he's a Beastmaster?
It's a she. It used to be a he, but I believe they retconned it. She is a panther from the astral plane of existence. And she is summoned from an onyx figurine that's just a figurine of a panther that Drizzts has.
I love that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
He carries it wherever he goes. And he got that from Minzo Berenzin after he killed a mage. It was the mage. It was the mage's companion, and he could tell that, like, Drizzt could tell that.
Not anymore.
Yeah, Guinevere
stole your dog,
doing the bad shit that the mage was wanting the cat to do, and so so he took him, and they've been fast friends ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
So does Guinevere have like a personality, or is it just like a beast?
Yes, she does have maybe not a very distinct one, but she does. She's really huge too. She's 600 pounds.
Shit.
Yeah. She jumps on giants' faces and just starts raking them off. But she has a sense of humor. She sometimes sits on the dwarf. It's
That's funny.
Yeah, she's really nice, really funny. She's saved the halfling a few times just like on her own accord. She's not like a beast that needs to be told what to do. She understands.
Right.
There's some agency.
But yeah, she's very iconic. A lot of people become Drow Rangers so they can get a Black Panther like her.
Right. Beast companions are always fun.
Cloning.
Yeah, there we go with the cloning. Yeah.
Let's go to Regis or Regis. It's hard to say which is the way you say his name, but he is the halfling companion. He's the rogue and thief.
The fat one?
He is an escaped member of a very dangerous and powerful thieves guild in Kalimport.
Wow.
And he made his way all the way, just like Drizzts, to the ass end of the world so he can escape them.
Yeah, so they wouldn't assassinate him.
Because he stole a ruby pendant that could when he flicks it or moves it at all, it like sparkles in a way that like entrances people almost.
Ooh.
So he can like I guess it's like a weird cast suggest.
Oh wow, he can like semi-hypnotize people.
Yeah, pretty much. And he stole that from the guild leader, and because he did that, he has to run away. So he ran all the way from the bottom of Faerun to the top of Faerun.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he became a spokesman for one of the 10 towns in Icewind Dale. But he becomes a companion. Let's see, there's Brunor Battlehammer, who is descended from kings. He is at the start of the series, he's just a clan leader of Clan Battlehammer. He's I guess the tank, really tough fighter, strong.
Yeah, isn't he like a battle rager or something like that?
No, he has a battle rager friend though. That shows up in the books. That's never bathes. His name is Puent.
Oh, good.
And battle ragers, they're guys like, I'm not gonna go too off on this guy, but like they're guys that wear armor made of spikes and they just jump on people and rip them to shreds.
Yeah, do you remember
we talked
the
about
fighter
launching
episode?
them out of cannons at people.
We did.
And they just stick to you and start whacking you with axes.
And then I mentioned the jumping cactus.
Yes.
Yeah.
But guilty. I forgot about that. But Brunor is let's see, he initially wants to reclaim Mithril Hall, and I know it's not a huge spoiler here because Mithril Hall is a big city now in current.
Yeah. Even I've heard of it.
Yes, but back then it was it was like Moria. It was a very it's a lost place. No one even knew where it was. Brunor, 200 years before the series began, only remembered as a small child and didn't remember how to get back to it. And it was like taken over by Grey Dwarves and a giant dragon called Shimmergloom.
Yeah, I've heard of Shimmergloom. It's a purple dragon, right?
Yes, actually. And
cool.
He's the obviously leader of Clan Battlehammer, and he goes back, reclaims Mithril Hall. He becomes the king of Mithril Hall multiple times. Oddly enough, it's hard. I'm not going to explain it, but he's like
I had to become king twice.
He's like the 8th, like 10th and 13th king of Mithril Hall or some shit.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Oh, maybe they kept dying. He kept having to step in.
God damn it! I'll be king again.
He like leaves it, does adventures, and then comes back, and then someone else comes back.
He's only part-time. He's part-time king.
Get out of my chair! I've returned.
I wish I could explain it more, but it's just
No, fair enough.
Yeah, but
Let's move on.
he's a really good fighter. He's the oldest of the lot. Obviously, because he's a dwarf, he lives longer than humans as well.
Right.
Yeah, I think he's like 200 years to start the series. So he's there, and then Wulfgar, of course. Wulfgar, really strong, really tall, beefy human. He was tall even when he was really young. And when he grows to maturity after working for the dwarves, he is like 7 foot tall.
He's like a Scandinavian looking guy, right? Like long blonde hair.
He's probably about as close as a half giant as you can get without actually having any giant blood in him.
Wow.
And he wields a warhammer named Aegis or Aegis Fang. And
Oh,
this
wow.
warhammer was made by Bruenor on the winter solstice night, and it was blessed by the dwarven gods because he put the dwarven pantheon runes on it. And it not only is like I think it's like a +3 or +4 warhammer or something. But
shit.
he can also throw the warhammer, and it will appear back in his hands whenever he wills it to be.
Oh,
Sweet.
nice.
Yeah.
That's convenient.
Yeah. really, really. Oh, and of course, Catti, who is the archer and fighter, who is Bruenor's adoptive daughter. She's also the love interest of. Well, actually, no, it's probably not a spoiler. She's the love interest.
I think that's pretty well known. I knew
Yeah,
that.
she's the love interest of Wolfgar and then Drizzts.
Right.
Ooh.
Ooh, love triangle. Tell me more.
No, it's not really love triangle. Wolfgar gets put in a bus for a while, and I'm not going to explain what happens there. But
Okay, all right.
yeah, so he gets gone in a way that's kind of spoilerific.
It's
But then he comes
Pearl
back,
Harbor
yeah.
situation.
It's a Pearl Harbor situation. Oh, no.
Oh God.
It's hilarious. God damn it, Brain.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Okay, so yeah, actually explain a little bit more about Catti. We haven't talked about her much.
Yeah, she's a beautiful young woman that talks like a dwarf because she was raised by Bruenor and Clan Battlehammer.
That's cool.
Her parents died very young from goblins, and so Bruenor saved her and
Damn goblins.
raised her as his own. And she's very, very talented with the bow. She has a bow called Talmaril. And Talmaril is it shoots, I think, lightning arrows. Or, no,
hell yeah.
arrows of silver. So they explode silver when they hit stuff. And
That's so
wow.
cool.
and
That's
she
pretty
actually
dope.
gets
Van
that
Helsing.
from Mithril Hall when they try to reclaim it. She finds it. And
Oh, okay. That's a pretty cool origin story for the weapon.
and she's also a prominent swordsman after Drizzts trains her as well.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Cool. That's
But
awesome.
she's really nice.
Yeah, he's
she's
a
really
good
helpful.
teacher,
She's kind of
too.
like the heart.
Yeah.
she's the
Yeah,
heart of the group,
that's true.
pretty much.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, well, I guess I won't. There's something else that she can do, but that's spoilerific, so I will not go into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We won't touch that. Does he have any more prominent allies before we get into prominent enemies?
Yes. He has some minor, or not like minor casts, but they're still very important. Illustrial, one of the seven sisters of Mistra, the goddess of magic,
Right.
who is the ruler of Silvery Moon. Drizzts kind of almost had a relationship with her, and they like at the beginning before, like when Catti was like going to be being engaged to Wolfgar. He kind of started a small relationship with Illustrial, although they didn't really go too much into that. But she hosts him graciously in Silver Moon. Silver Moon is known for accepting races of all kinds.
Okay.
Yeah, and let's see, her the Harkles. Oh no, the Harpels actually. There's just a wizard called Harkle of them, but they're a family of eccentric wizards that pretty much make things explode and don't know what they're doing, but kind of do somehow. They
Holy shit.
Super
that
tight.
doesn't sound safe.
yeah, they're in
I'm
a
into it.
small town called Longsaddle, which is in the Silver Marches, kind of like a little bit south of the Silver Marches, I guess. And they are really powerful wizards that experiment way too much. And they're just,
Interesting.
yeah, it's kind of hard to really. I would not go near them, but
Yeah, they sound volatile.
There's also Belwar, who is the deep gnome that Drizzt befriends in the Underdark. That shows up a few times again. He is a honored burrow warden, and that's pretty much like a weapons master of the like the
gnomes.
Deep Gnome Society.
Right.
He's really cool.
Really
he
cool.
has
Burrow
he
Warden.
has a hammer and a pick for hands.
Oh.
What?
The way he and
That's
Drizzt-
awesome. He's like a pirate.
Pretty much like this is how it happened. The way he and Drizzts met was Drizzts and his evil brother were on a patrol, and they found Belwar's group. Him and his patrol killed them, but Drizzts wanted him to live, so he said just cut off his hands instead. And so they cut his hands off and sent him back as a messenger, and then later Drizzts and him recognize each other. And Drizzts is just like, okay, like, I don't like losing my hands, but you saved my life, and hey, I can do cool shit with this hammer and pick now, so we're good.
So he took it well.
Yeah, he took it well. He knew that Drizzts was trying to save him.
Right. Fair enough.
Turns out my hands were what was holding me back all this time.
That's
Thank
amazing.
you, Drizzts Do'urden.
Isn't Jarl Axel? So can we talk a little bit more about him? I know he's supposed to be a prominent character. I'm completely unaware of where he fits in the mythos.
I was just about to say, he is I cannot tell if he is an enemy or an ally because he's both at sometimes.
He's one of those. Okay.
Double agent.
He's like the Catwoman to his Batman.
Oh my god, I wouldn't say that exactly. But
Fair enough.
Yeah, he is Jarlaxle. I'll talk a little bit about him. He is a very eccentric and very sly drow male that is one of the few powerful drow males in Menzoberranzan society. And the only reason why he is because he runs the only real mercenary group in the city that any of the houses can hire, and it's all male. He's the guild leader, and he is always ambitious. He's always looking for an edge, but he's also not malicious.
Right.
He's friends with.
That's interesting.
Yeah, he's friends with Drizzt's father, Zach Nefane, or before he met Drizzt. And he is just so he plots to take over Luskan, one of the port cities above ground. He goes on adventures just so he can gain some stuff. He gains magical items. He's full of magical items. He's not a wizard himself really, but one time a halfling put on a magical thing to check his aura, and it almost blinded him. There's so many magical items on Jarlaxle.
Oh my gosh.
He's effectively a magic user because of all this weaponry.
That's badass.
Yeah, he's just pretty much the lovable rogue that you can't really tell who he's working for or what, other than himself.
Yeah, he works for himself is what I'm gathering from
Yes,
this.
pretty much. And he's also, and this isn't really God, there's so many stuff I don't know if it's a spoiler or not actually. Well, either way,
Just go with your gut.
Okay. Yeah, I won't even talk about it. Let's just
Your safe gut.
Your safe gut. We spoil shit all the time.
I will tell
We're trying not to.
We try not to, but we're real bad at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I'll try I'll say come on, I listen.
We're talking about lore. There's going to be spoilers.
It's the truth.
I'll also explain 3 or 4 of his magical items, and then I'll just go to the villains. Let's see. To show how flamboyant he is, he has boots that serve no purpose other than to be really loud or really quiet. He can walk
Nice.
over a carpet that's 3 feet thick, and he can make them clack like they're on stone. And he can also, and he can walk on stone,
obnoxious,
and just be silent. He wills it. So it's just boots that are just he can announce his presence or sneak around.
Right. Well, yeah, the sneaking around part sounds particularly useful.
Yes.
So.
He wears an eye patch where he can see magical things, or he can detect magic with it, but he switches eyes with it a lot because he doesn't.
I was about to ask. So I've seen him with the eye patch, but if it's a magical one, does he need the eye patch?
No, he just switches eyes. He just goes between, I'll put it on here now to fuck with people, stuff like that.
Yeah.
He also has a wide brimmed hat that's a bag of holding, and
wow.
And he also has a sheath that shoots magical daggers, and every 5 daggers is it actually real, but
wow.
But in Forgotten Realms,
that'll fuck with you.
Yeah, in Forgotten Realms, if you believe something is real enough, then the illusion daggers can still kill you if you believe it.
Wow.
Which will mess with your head. And last but not least, he does have a huge hat, a plumed feather on the top of his hat that people always think is just a feather, but he can throw it on the ground, and it's a giant bird that'll just run around and start attacking people.
By the way, here's my bow.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love that. It's like a Pokeball.
I can see why this character's popular.
Yes. In fact, I'll give a little anecdote. Aria Salvatore once went on a forum and asked about he wanted or he needed to make a book about Jarlaxle, and he was like, "There's been so many magical items, I don't know." So we went on a forum anonymously and asked them to list all of the magical items that he wrote down, and they gave it to him.
Smart.
They spent 4 days or something on a thread being like, well, he had this and this and this, and he collected all that data and was just like, great, thanks for reminding me, guys.
Indeed. That's hilarious. That's fantastic. All right, well, let's move from his allies, which he seems to have a colorful cast there. Let's talk about his enemies. We know Drizzt is this amazing fighter. We know he's a really powerful guy. We know he's this prominent hero. But who does he spend his time fighting?
Probably the main antagonist of the series is Artemis Intrari, and he is actually a very popular character in Forgotten Realms lore as well. He's he's about on par with Drizzt with the sword. I think Ed Greenwood, the maker of Forgotten Realms, said that he and Drizzt are in the top 10 guys, and I think Drizzt is 9th and he's 10th or something like that. But he's an assassin, cold and emotionless. He comes to the north to he's hired by the guilds in Kalimport to get Regis back because he took the ruby pendant.
Okay.
Yeah, and he searches around, and you can't escape this guy. You can't control this guy. He's taking people, really powerful people, captive. He's just really, really dangerous, and he hates Drizzts because Drizzts is his level of skill with the sword, but Drizzts didn't have to sacrifice his personal life. Drizzts
His personality.
Yeah, like he's an emotionless killer. He's a lot like a drow, actually.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's basically like a dark mirror. He's the thing Drizzts was supposed to become, but didn't.
And every fight he has with Drizzts...
That's really cool.
Yeah, every fight he has with Drizzts in the books is like the highlight of the books. Like, they're just so iconic. Because he's so good, and Drizzts is so fucking good. But
it's like Vegeta and Goku.
Pretty much, yeah.
I guess so.
But let's see. Artemis he's also in, like, he's in a lot of games too. He's in one of the Baldur's Gate games. He's in, I think, he's in the prelude book to the Neverwinter online game. He's really popular. He's got a vampiric dagger that he uses to like stab people and then take their life essence to heal himself.
Cool.
Yeah, he's just really, really badass.
Right.
Next on the line is Heir 2 the Baelor. He hates Drizzts because Drizzts tricked him by saying, like, I'm a dark elf, you can trust me. And
right.
After that, when Heir 2 realized that Drizzts was bullshitting with him, he attacked him, and the only reason why Drizzts survived, because, Drizzts is great, but he's still a Baelor. The only reason why Drizzts survived was because Drizzts had which I'll talk about later, but one of his magical scimitars, and it was named Icing Death, and it was actually an ice scimitar that allowed him to survive the flames of the Baelor, and then it also hurt the Baelor, so he banished him. And Heir 2 is always trying to get back to the material plane, for one, power, but two, to kill Drizzts.
Interesting.
Yeah, let's see. There's also Elephane, who is a really tragic character. I won't spoil too much, but Elephane, Drizzts was in one raid on the surface world once when he was very young. He went to the surface world to attack an elven village, because that's what drow love to do. And Drizzts saved her life by putting the corpse of her dead mother on her.
Ooh. That's not traumatizing.
Yeah. And but she, unlike Belwar,
I'm gonna save you, but I'm gonna scar you for life.
Yeah, pretty much. But unlike Belwar, who realized that Drizzts is trying to help him when he had his hands cut off, this girl didn't think so.
She did not take it well.
No, she did not take it well, and she comes around later in the books. She really wants to kill Drizzts because she's been like training her whole life to kill him because of that incident when she was a child. Let's see. There's also
I find it interesting, and I didn't expect this, that there aren't any drow so far at the top of this enemy list.
True. That's mostly because it takes a while for him to go back to the Underdark, but there are a few.
Interesting.
His
they're not
initial
pursuing
enemy
him
is
in
his
the
own
material
mother,
plane.
actually, during the time when he's in the Underdark. Matron Malice, and Malice is obviously, that's a hell of a name.
Indeed.
Yeah. She tries to get him back so she can praise Loth and stuff like that. And let's see, Matron Bainray, who was pretty much the queen of Drow society. She's the matron of the top house.
Right.
She's a big enemy, as is the other weapons masters of Menzoberranzan, because they all know Zaknafeyn's old reputation, and they know that Drizzts is his equal. And so they all want to prove themselves by killing Drizzts. If whoever kills Drizzts can say that they've killed Zaknafeyn, and so they will then be the greatest weapons masters in Menzoberranzan.
Oh, I see.
So they're always trying to go after him for that. If he ever goes there, like he went back to Menzoberranzan once, and the top weapons master of the time was like, I need to fight him. Please let me fight him so I can kill him. There are a bunch of rivals there. I'm not even going to name names.
Right.
Let's see. He also has a bunch of. Actually, there's so many enemies down the line. One of the latest enemies is Sazim Tam, who is actually very prominent in the new 5e stuff, and he's like the king of the wizards of Thay.
Oh wow!
And he tried to send some people to take over Neverwinter after Neverwinter got destroyed in the Time of Troubles. And Drizzts was there, and he foiled his problems along with a few other characters. And, of course, Loth herself. it's hard to say. I'm not going to go too much into it about whether or not he is an agent of hers or not, but
Right. We have talked about it a little bit. I think in the Lilith episode, how I said, like, despite the fact that Drizzt is like one of the biggest enemies of Drowkind and kind of like a spit in their eye, his very existence, Lilith in some ways likes having him around because she challenges her people and throws them a bit into chaos.
exactly.
Interesting.
She is amused by him, I would say.
Yeah. I think she gets amused by how pissed off he makes her people.
Pretty much. But I would never, ever, ever count her as an ally, though.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
So she's like actively tagged as his enemy.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And she has also tried to fuck him over a few times indirectly. Like she's like heir to the Baelor has been under her dominion a few times, or once or twice, because she has been like, okay, I'm gonna help you out. We're gonna rub each other's backs here. But of course, she being like a intermediate goddess or something, she can obviously command her to do whatever she wants, because gods can trump Baelor's easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but she waltzes into his mushroom kingdom. And I know that sounds weird, but his kingdom in the abyss is literally made of giant mushrooms.
Oh yeah,
shit.
they have that down there.
They do have that down there.
Yep. And she waltzes in, tells him like, "Look, I'm going to command you now, but don't worry, I'll let you get your revenge on Drizzts too. So it's all going to be good. But still, like, you're my slave right now." So.
Wow. All right. Well, that's quite the list of enemies. Let's talk about Drizzt's abilities. Now, I know you mentioned Icing Death. I know he has a second scimitar called, Twinkle?
Twinkle, yes.
Yeah.
He got Icing Death after he and Wolfgar felled an ice dragon.
Oh, wow, nice.
And he got Twinkle from a wizard in the first trilogy who, it was actually an elven, like a surface elven scimitar that the wizard was just like, take this, Drizzts Do'urden, it's dangerous to go alone, kind of thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Let's see. He also has magical bracers. No, magical what was it? I think they're it's two bracelets that he actually puts on his feet so he can run quicker.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yes. One of the main weapons master that was his rival in one series of books almost killed Drizzts because he had these magical bracelets that can make his arms move faster than the eye could see. But when Drizzts defeated him, Drizzts got him and realized these are too fast. This is why I beat him, because like he couldn't control his movements too well. So he put him on his ankles, so now he can like run extra.
Too much momentum.
Yeah, pretty much. So now he can run extra quickly with those. And other than that, yes, he also has a Pwifwi, I believe what it's called, and it's the Drow cloak. And it's kind of like a cloak of elven kind, except
you can't have a hero without a magical cloak.
Yeah,
for real.
Essentially.
Not
I forgot
fantasy.
the exact stats of that, and I believe they only really work in the Underdark, so I think he just has it for like accessory now.
Oh yeah, I just got this because it looks good.
Just because I mean, like, he's had it for a while. Why not keep it? I mean,
It's a fine cloak.
Okay,
I'll
so
wear it.
would you say that Drizzt is an overpowered character?
I would say that he might be now. He was not at the beginning. It was very, very, or in the middle. It was very, very. You could tell how he got that strong. He was trained by the best. Right. He had a way about him.
It's difficult in these types of fantasy novels to not become overpowered when you have 22 novels of story be told.
Exactly.
I mean, that's inevitably it's what happens to RPG characters, even when you're just playing like
or
Final
anime
Fantasy.
characters.
Yeah.
Anime characters as well.
You gather power as you go, and then eventually you just retain it all.
Yeah, we'll eventually do an Elminster episode, and it's the same deal with him. Like, he becomes so powerful, it's stupid.
I will say that someone asked R.A. Salvatore once who would win in a fight between Drizzts and Elminster, and R.A. Salvatore said, it depends on who's writing the book. He said,
I mean, that's fair, but I mean, from what I know about Elminster, is like that's not a fair fight. That's like a fight between a demigod, basically, with Elminster and just an amazing physical fighter. It's like, well, one has reality-altering powers and the other swings a sword really well.
True.
That's just my hot take.
Right, yeah. Drizzts has, I mean, obviously he fights Baelor, so you can't really take that away from him. But
yeah, oh, absolutely not.
But is he overpowered now? When he was a ranger fighter, I would say probably not. I would say he was so powerful that you wouldn't want to fight him with a sword, but it wasn't to the fact that like, oh god, look at this Mary Sue. But like the latest books, I'm not going to explain what happens in them, but the latest books he actually starts gaining levels in monk.
What? Oh man.
So,
okay.
and by that point, I'm like, all right, Our Salvatore, I love you, but like, let's not go there.
Right.
And he also,
I can definitely see that.
And he also has some levels in Thief too, or Rogue, just because.
That seems more fitting than Monk, if you ask me.
But he's such a high level character though that you could make the argument that he is overpowered. But like, I think now he is. I think for a long time he was not.
Okay. Well, this brings me to my two final questions. The first being fitting Drizzts into a campaign. Number one, would you do this? Should you do this? And if you were to do this, how would you do this?
I did run a Forgotten Realms campaign once, and I put Catti-brie and Wulfgar in there, but I had not gotten to Drizzt yet before we stopped.
Okay.
I wanted to, but I was not able to. However, I would only suggest ever doing it if you have read the books as much as I have, because people will make him into the cliche that he's not.
Right.
Yeah, they will just try to make him this eponymous kind of I'm the Dark Elf hero. Yeah, but like like if you can really respect the character and you actually get enemies that like you would need him for, then I would say you can go for it. But like
I think for me as a dungeon master, one of the things that I'm always wary of is introducing NPCs that outshine the actual characters. And Drizzt being the icon that he is and being as powerful he is, that's why I would refrain myself from doing it. But he's also a really cool, compelling character that if you're fans of Drizzt, it would be kind of cool to have him in the campaign.
Yes, and you can also do it in a certain timeline where it's earlier than before he got like really, really high level, like before the time of Troubles. Yeah, stuff like that.
Cool beans. Oh, okay. Last question. And I guess this one can get a little spoilery, so we don't need to necessarily answer it. But my question is, where is Drizzt now? What's he up to? What's he doing currently in his storylines?
That is very spoilery. Let's see.
Is that an unanswerable question? Because we don't have to
answer this. I mean, like, because it's even hard for me to follow a little bit, just because it's so. I'll say this much. Anyone who doesn't want spoilers probably should go like la 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 for a while, but like
fair enough.
Yeah, but like after the time of Troubles, when it went from 3E to 4E, that was 100 years gone by. Mm-hmm. So all of his human friends died.
Oh wow.
Oh gosh. But like Catti-brie was learning to be a mage. She decided, I think she got an accident and she decided to become a mage instead of continuing with a fighter ranger, Drizzt taught her. And so, but when magic started going awry, she died from it. And Wulfgar, obviously.
That's from the spell plague, right? Spell plague?
Yes, the spell plague killed her. And Wulfgar he kind of left because he was scarred, because Wulfgar actually became he was taken by one of Loth's demon, the yokels. You know what a yokel is, right?
Yeah, we've talked about him on the show.
Yeah, Wulfgar sacrificed himself to take out a yokel, but instead of killing himself, the yokel pulled him down to the abyss, and he became a slave of Urtu, the Baelor, for 6 years.
Worst 6 years of his life.
Yeah, it was. When he came back, he couldn't see his friends without looking at demons. Wow. Yeah, that's what putting him on a bus. What I meant earlier.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Gone for 6 years. And they thought he was dead instead of being in the abyss. But when he came back, which I won't explain, obviously, but he left for a while. He became a huge drunk. He became kind of a neutral character rather than a good character for a bit, just because he couldn't handle everything. He became friends with a rogue and a thief. And his story is pretty compelling. But then he comes back. He becomes better. But after the 100 years, even Bruenor is getting old, and he goes and finds the old city of Gauntlegrim, which is the next Mithril Hall, the ancient Delzun Dwarven kingdom, and Delzun's one of the old ancient clans. And he became the king of that. He fought a pit fiend and killed it. Bruenor did, because Bruenor was imbued by his gods, and stuff like that. But after all that, Drizzt is a worshiper of Mialiki, the nature goddess, and she actually put his companions in a small alter dimension. So
Oh.
they had their own slice of like heaven or Elysium or like, you know, at the afterlife. Like they lived there until they could be brought back. And they were. They were brought back by her blessing because Drizzts was kind of like going down a dark path because obviously...
Because Drizzts needs his friends.
Yeah. And Drizzts was kind of like hanging out with some bad people too after a while because he didn't know what to do.
Oh, no. Hanging around with the wrong crowd.
Yeah, pretty much. God, that's a whole can of beans. But when they came back in 5e, or I think it was 5e, in the Companions Codex, they showed up again, born into different families, but they were still themselves. So they had to kind of grow up again, even though they knew who they were.
Oh, that's bizarre.
Very odd. Yes, it was hard to. It wasn't hard to read, but it was odd to read. And I'm just like, well, this is still kind of interesting.
Yeah. So I take it they grow up again and they become themselves. And is he just palling around with them now?
Yes, he is. However, Loth has also gone a little out of whack. She's kind of opened the abyss a few times. I'm not gonna go into that. She's
Right.
Yeah, she's done that. Matron Bainray, the Queen of Menzoberranzan, was killed when she tried to invade Mithril by Bruenor Battlehammer years ago. And she was resurrected as well by Loth, because she was one of Loth's chosen, and she's come back. She's tried to seduce Drizzts into the dark path again.
Join the dark side.
People have done that a lot, actually. Do it your power. I'm a voice talent, I forgot. But like, let's see. It's just he also meets a monk called Cain, who is one of the monks in Damaran. And the monk called Cain actually trains him a bit in monk, which I thought was going a little too far. And Cain was around back in 3E.
Okay, so he's a famous monk.
He's one of the monks that followed Gareth Dragonsbane and his crew, and they fought like this witch king that was like a servant of Orcus. They were famous for that. And because he's a monk and they have like perfect body, he was still very old, but he could live longer than most humans.
Right.
Yeah, so he stayed around. He helped train Drizzts a bit. And the latest thing is Zach Nefane has actually come back, his father.
Oh, so now he's dealing with that.
Yes. And I will say I don't entirely agree with R.A. Salvatore on this. I'm not going to go too much into it, but Zach Nefane... Drizzt's having a hard time dealing with Zach Nefane now because Zach Nefane still has that old dark elf prejudice, even if he's not like the other dark elves.
Right. He's still not a good person.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that he was a better person than when R.A. Salvatore is trying to make him be out now, especially after reading Homeland again recently. But then again, you know, he wrote it in early 90s, so like I cannot fault him for that either.
Yeah. All right, well, I think we've done a pretty thorough overview of Drizzt at this point. I think we can get ready for a long rest. Ben, thanks for coming on to the show.
Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate you coming.
Absolutely, and you've done a wonderful job. I think the audience will really appreciate all the info that you've given them. Before we go, we want to tell everyone about our gaming channel, TDC Plays, where we sit around and play video games and just hang out. And if you guys are into that, if you're into us here at the Dungeoncast, you might like that. Check out the description below, and I think we'll talk to you guys later.
Let's call it a game.
All right.
Bye.
The Dungeoncast.